This is Hannibal from the Hannibal TV.com, and the big wrestling news of the day is AXS TV, which is now owned by Anthem, which is the company that owns Impact Wrestling, has gotten rid of New Japan Pro Wrestling from their programming. New Japan had been part of AXS TV for numerous years, but of course Anthem owns Impact, so that's a conflict for them. They don't really release ratings on AXS, so there's no news on what the New Japan ratings are or what the Impact ratings are on AXS, because to my knowledge they've never been released. I do know that Impact was getting about 10,000 viewers an episode on Pursuit prior to being on AXS TV, according to Dave Meltzer. Hello to Big John there. Now, this is bad for New Japan for this reason. They are presenting about 30 live events in the United States in 2020, starting, I believe, next month. Their CEO, Takami Obari, sorry if I'm mispronouncing that wrong, but this is what he was quoted as saying when New Japan announced that they were going to do 30 dates in the US next year. He said, "Up to now, we've been working very well with our partners at AXS TV and plan to continue to do so. As events increase in number in the US, we would like to be able to make more opportunities for the fans to watch those events live and in real time on TV. And those are opportunities we're excited to discuss with TV partners going forward." So being off AXS TV has got to be a big blow to them, especially since they're doing the US tour. Let's hope that for New Japan's sake, they can get on somewhere else, because I don't know if there's interest really for them to pack venues. I know they're only going to about 2,000 seat venues, but if they're going to run about 27 different cities, from what I understand, I don't know if all the cities are going to be interested. I personally am not that interested in Japanese wrestling. It's boring to me. The actual in-ring style is good, but I don't understand the language. We don't get AXS TV here in Canada, so I've never seen an English version of it. So I'm just not interested for the language reasons. As far as the action and the hard-hitting style, I do like that. Couple comments on this. Max Power says Impact is on AXS and New Japan isn't. That's the opposite of what should happen. It should, but I guess Anthem owns it and they see New Japan as competition. Richard Min says Japanese strong style with a North American twist would be good. Well, we'll see what they actually present. But the problem is, if they don't have TV, I don't know how many viewers in these towns, other than in the major markets, are going to come out. But I wish them well, because I like their style of wrestling. It's certainly better than the AEW style, which is like comedy style wrestling. And speaking of AEW, I listened to the first part of Jim Ross's podcast this week. And the reason I listened to it was because he did a recent episode where he told some lies about Rene Dupree, who is a friend of mine, and he's worked for Great North Wrestling for a long time now. And he actually apologized for saying what he said about Rene Dupree. And not only him, but he told the story that was basically false about Rene Dupree. It was actually about Sylvain Grenier, Rene's old partner. And then Conrad Thompson, Jim Ross's podcast partner, actually made it seem like there was a rumor that something was going on between Rene and Pat Patterson, when in fact, those rumors were always about Sylvain and Pat Patterson. So Jim Ross apologized on Twitter. And then, strangely enough, a couple days later, they actually took the individual clip of them talking about Renee, which one part of the story had some truth to it about his hardcore Holly incident, but then they went into another half where they confused Renee with Sylvain. So after Jim Ross apologized, and Conrad was also involved in those tweets, he never apologized. I'd like to hear Conrad Thompson accuse Rene Dupree of being gay with Pat Patterson in person. I think Rene Dupree would knock his fat ass out in a matter of seconds. But I find it very rude that after Jim Ross apologized, they put the audio clip of that lie about Rene as an individual audio clip on their YouTube channel. And then when I listened to Jim Ross's podcast this week, he's talking about how horrible people are on social media because they've been bashing AEW so bad for all the comedy crap and sloppy wrestling that's been going on, that the Young Bucks have actually got off Twitter and they said, how dare people like that heckle the Young Bucks for the shitty AEW product on Twitter around the holidays. Well, at least they're not making up lies about him. The product is shitty. With Rene Dupree, you accused him of being gay with Pat Patterson, and you made up a story that you had him kicked out of a WWE show, which is pure false. You even did an impression of him. And then after apologizing, you put it up as an individual clip. So I think that's a little bit worse than the Young Bucks being pussies and getting off Twitter because they can't take heat. And by the way, Jim Ross, and I did an interview with Jim Ross earlier this year, he is being paid apparently the largest amount of money that a commentator has ever been paid for his current job with AEW. So, of course, he's always going to put it over no matter how bad the product gets. Do I listen to Linkin Park? I've listened to Linkin Park a bunch, yeah. What songs do I work out to? A variety of songs. Joe JG says WCW Nitro was better than AEW by far. It's not hard to bash AEW, someone says. 90s Car Guy says, I'll say it, AEW sucks. Last piece of news I'll say today is I don't even know where Qatar is, I'll be perfectly honest with you. But I found this interesting because whoever's running this show in Qatar on February 1st must have a lot of money. They're doing this show in Qatar. And announced for the show are Eric Bischoff. Last I checked, for a North American appearance, Bischoff was requiring $5,000. To go overseas, it might be more than that. Alberto El Patron is also on this. Last time I checked, he was asking $7,000 American for an indie appearance. Could be more overseas. Matt Seidel, no idea how much he is. And Enzo was asking, I forget what it was exactly. I think it was somewhere between 6,000 and 8,000 for indie appearances. So, I mean, to bring all those guys to Qatar, wherever that is, I'm guessing it's not close, but this is a hell of a well-funded show. So I find that show interesting. By the way, for the MMA fans, I have been watching a bit of this Combate Americas, and they have an interesting product. Very interesting. I think I like it better than Bellator. I'll give a couple questions here. Hulk Hogan versus The Undertaker. Winner gets a free hip and funeral insurance paid by Vince McMahon. That is actually funny. It's sad that those guys are still talking about wrestling at this stage of the game in 2020, when people were calling them old in the late 90s. Now, The Undertaker can still go. The last I saw Hogan on WWE TV, he was literally hunched over, like walking around outside of the ring, during a Shorty G match in a clip I saw on YouTube. So if he can barely walk, I understand he wants a WrestleMania payday or a Saudi Arabia payday, but man, to see him in the ring again, I really don't want to see that. Someone says the Shane Douglas episode 2 full shoot interview that's on here now free is great. I highly suggest you guys look it up. I also released yesterday my 3-hour Best of Hannibal DVD that features Kevin Nash, AJ Styles, Abdullah the Butcher, Terry Funk, Superstar Billy Graham, Tommy Dreamer, Al Snow, Scorpio, who's wrestling again for Great North Wrestling on our February 29th show in Smith Falls, Ontario. More information on that event at thehannibaltv.com. But if you want to watch any of those matches, they're on there, including my last match I had against PCO, who is now the Ring of Honor World Championship. Angel the Truth 28 says, am I going to fight Billy Jack Haynes? No, he has way too many injuries, and he's not in the health to get in the ring, even in a pro wrestling match. And Billy Jack Haynes is actually working for the Hannibal TV WrestleMania weekend in Tampa at WrestleCon, April 3rd and 4th. He's going to be at our table. Rip Oliver, Billy Jack Haynes' close friend, who is a former wrestler for WWE, but is better known for his time in the Oregon area and Pacific Northwest area. He's also supposed to be at WrestleCon with Billy Jack Haynes at the Hannibal TV table. But unfortunately, he is in critical condition right now in the hospital in Florida, I believe due to heart issues. I said it in my Wrestling Observer review yesterday, the exact thing that Billy Jack Haynes told me is wrong with Rip Oliver, but I really will keep him in my prayers. Krilling876 is tipping me $2. Any news update from the Iron Sheik? I haven't heard anything from him. Nothing at all. I'll look into that for you, and I'll let you know on a future daily update, but I haven't heard much from him. Suck It Trudeau says Fatu would embarrass the AEW roster. MLW is far better. MLW is far better, and the Hannibal TV is going to be covering an event January 10th just outside of LA. PCW Ultra. Fatu is going to be on that show. I'm sure I'm going to interview him again. The Blood Hunter is wrestling Sabu on that card. Other MLW stars are going to be on that card, including Killer Cross, who is just starting with MLW. But that's January 10th. PCWUltra.com has more information. Favorite gimmick match? Motor Stash is asking me. I don't know. Maybe the strap match. Those are always pretty brutal. Someone says John Cena needs to save the WWE. He's gone into acting. Don't expect him to ever be full-time in WWE again. I can't see that happening. Would a Ric Flair hard chest slap really hurt? Robert R. says, nowadays, at 70 years old, no, it would not hurt. Motor Stash, do a shoot with RVD. He's too expensive. By the way, I think RVD is also on that Qatar show that I was talking about. And yeah, he is. And he was asking something like $15,000 for indie dates. PWC 24/7 thoughts on Bruce Pritchard and Eric Bischoff being so negative on the Ultimate Warrior. I haven't really heard too much of it. I have heard a little bit. I never met the Ultimate Warrior. I don't know what he's really like. I saw him perform a lot of times. He was underrated, I think, because I was in arenas when he was champion, and they were pretty damn full when I was a kid. So they were doing a lot better as far as live event attendance when the Ultimate Warrior is headlining now than when they have guys like Seth Rollins headlining and they're canceling shows left, right, and center. So yeah, thanks a lot, everyone. There's lots of questions on there. Motor Stash says WWE should give some money to Kamala. I'd like to see that, but that concussions lawsuit, apparently they're still appealing it, and Kamala is part of that. So I can't see them giving any love to anybody that's involved in that concussions lawsuit against them. Roberto Bravo says AXS sucks. We don't get it in Canada, so I don't know, but I know Impact Wrestling sucks. It's a horrible product, just about on par with AEW. So yeah, I'm not a fan of either of those companies. Have a good night, everyone. I'm out of here. Thanks a lot for all your comments.